Okay, so as I'm coming here to the close of yet another year making videos and shooting photography, I was kind of sitting down and reflecting on what the top gear that I encountered over the course of the year. And this is always kind of a fun list to make. I do want to point out this isn't necessarily the best gear I've dealt with, but this is the top gear I dealt with. And that means it's practical, I use it all the time, and it's just the things that make my life a lot easier on a film set. So I thought I'd share that with you, because the good news is not all of this is new gear. As a matter of fact, some of it's really, really old, but they all make a huge difference in your life when you're shooting. Oh, and do me a favor, if you find this useful, do me a favor and please subscribe and like this channel. It's really, really hard to keep a YouTube channel up and going, and you would not believe how important it is to have those subscribers out there helping me keep this thing going. All right, I'm gonna start this thing off talking about cameras, and more importantly, what I consider my top everyday camera that gets me with video and incredible photos. And even after all these years, it is still the Canon R5, the old granddaddy Mac Daddy. Now, even though this camera is a couple years old, this thing still proves to be a workhorse for me every day. I mean, it is by far the best running gun camera that I've ever had. Now, if you take the video side of it, now that Canon has fixed all the overheating issues with firmware updates, this camera gives me beautiful 4K, reliable autofocus, and also gives me compression codecs that are perfect for kind of smaller local productions and for YouTube and social media videos. Then the other thing, honestly, I do have an R5C, but the R5, I still never have to really worry about the battery issues. And on the photography side of things, I mean, well, 45 megapixels, perfect autofocus, great ergonomics. The image quality is fantastic. The R5 is still my favorite photo camera pretty much of all time. Nothing has surpassed it on that side. Now, if I'm talking about the best budget cinema camera, the top one for this year has to be the Red Komodo. How? I kind of cheat on this because I shot a full-length feature film this year with 2 Red Komodos. And I'm putting this down as my kind of top budget cinema camera of the year because the Komodo, it's not a perfect camera by any chance, but the ability to capture red raw with a global shutter at such an incredible price point really makes this a home run winner for me. And I found myself, now that I've gone in post-production and all these features that I shot, when I can take the Red Komodo footage with cinema lenses and put it in the computer, man, the image looks fantastic. It looks very, very professional and great. In addition to camera, I want to talk about my top audio choice of the year. And this one's a little bit unusual in the fact that this is really geared toward my social media channel, but my favorite piece of audio gear this year has been this right here, actually, the Comica Vimo C. Now, as a YouTuber, this has been a rock solid piece of gear for me. I love that it comes in a charging case so that I always know my labs are being charged, even if I forget to plug them in. And as you can see, it's super small, it's got good audio quality, and it's really, really affordable. So this is really a piece of gear that I've used all the time for social media throughout the year. So even though it's not necessarily the fanciest or most expensive piece of gear that I have for audio, it is one of my top ones for 2023 just because it's so useful and so practical when I'm doing social media stuff. Now, camera movement is also very, very important when you're talking about top gear of any year. And, you know, gotta point out an old classic, my favorite gimbal system for 2023 has to be the DJI RS3 Pro. And really, I'm gonna put a caveat on that, and it's when I couple the RS3 Pro with a tilter ring. Now, a good gimbal obviously is an essential piece of gear for anyone these days. And the thing about the DJI RS3 Pro that really makes it worth it for me is that it delivers what I need from a gimbal. It has great motors, but the thing that about this model particularly is the extra size that those arms give you when putting bigger systems on it. I've been able to put a Red Komodo with cinema lenses on it. I've been able to put a Canon C70 with the giant Canon 28-70 f2 lens. It's an absolute brick of a thing. I can put an R5C with a 70 to 200 millimeter lens on it. The flexibility that comes with the design of the RS3 Pro just really lets you do so many things with the rig and really gives you a perfect movement option in almost everything you want, as long as you're not throwing like an ARRI Alexa or giant Sony Venice on there. And then when you take that and couple it with the tilter ring, it basically allows you to expand the system so you can use it with Easyrigs, wireless monitors, other peripherals like that. And it really makes that RS3 Pro really, really functional on a film set when you got to communicate your image with a lot of people. Now, once I move past movement, I have to talk about lights, because that's one of the most important things that we have in our arsenal of kits. And I found this one really tough because I use a lot of great lights out there. But remember, I'm trying to pick my top light of the year, not the best light of the year. And I have to say my top light of the year has to be the Amaran 200X. The price, color, flexibility, and power of this light mean that I've ended up using it at least one on every single shoot I have been on. I love this light. It is so cheap. I can really put it anywhere. I love the Bowens mount, and it gives me just enough power that I can usually pull it off and get away with most of the stuff that I need. So the fact that this light is so affordable and that you can also still use it with the Sidus app that comes in conjunction with a full aperture of lights just makes it an absolute home run. It's one of those lights, I've actually got a couple of them in my kit now, and even though it's affordable and cheap, man, you find yourself using it just about every time you run on the set. Now, when it comes to the lens, this one's going to be a little bit of a surprise for people. I was really thinking about what is my favorite lens? What lens is my top lens? And believe it or not, the lens that I love is actually a really, really old one. It is a Canon EF 70-200 EF-L2 lens that I have. Now, I know this is an older lens, but the fact of the matter is it has never failed to deliver amazing results. The AF still work fantastic. So EF adapter on an R5 means I have really, really good results with it. And the fact that the zoom is internal on it is really, really helpful for gimbal work. And I've had this lens for almost 10 years. 10 years later, I never failed to take that thing out of my bag and not be impressed with the image quality I get from an old school Canon 70-200 EF lens. Now, it's not as fancy as the RF stuff, but it literally gives me everything I need in both video and photography, and it still, to this day, is my go-to top lens of this year. Now, another thing I do like to talk about that I found very useful this year is actually rigs to help me with my system. And by far the top piece of gear that I've found that has helped me in 2023 has been the Easyrig Stabilite system for my gimbals and for my handheld work. I mean, this has really become just an essential piece of gear on set for me. It's comfortable, it's easy to use, and it greatly, greatly enhances your quality of life and physical limitations when you're on a set. Taking that weight off your body and transferring to your hips lets you go all day with the camera gear, especially once you start getting with bigger cinema lenses and equipment. And it's very, very helpful too if you're working as a cinematographer and talking with team members or directors. You don't have to put the camera down. You can literally just let it hang there on the Easyrig, have a conversation, and get right back into it. You're not having to put the camera down all the time. And the Stabilite aspect of it actually does dampen some of the fourth axis movement of the whole system basically every time I shoot. Now, don't kid yourself. This isn't going to be, a steady cam, but it does dampen that stuff enough to help you get more professional results. Now, when it comes to actually moving my camera off of a gimbal type setting, I have to come back to one of my all-time favorite pieces of gear, and that is going to be the Dana Dolly. It's just one of those pieces of gear that because of the smooth professional results you get from it, it just really always is something that I'm going to have on a set with me. But this year I was able to find a piece of gear that allowed me to basically combine a Dana Dolly and a gimbal into one unit and give me a very, very smooth, beautiful, automated rail system. And that was the eMotomo SA 2.6 automated system. Now, I've really had this for a year and I've really enjoyed it. It is really, really great at helping you get much more professional looking things for both narrative work and for interviews. And it's one of those pieces of equipment that takes an old existing piece of equipment that I already have and really enjoy and takes it and enhances it. So it's a really great add-on if you're a Dana Dolly user and you have an RS3 2, 3, or 3 Pro. Really good piece of work that can help you become even better with that equipment. And then if I have to round this out with the top 10, I'm going to talk about drones. And this drone that I like this year has actually, it's not a new drone, it's a little bit older, but it's been really, really fun. And I found myself incorporating it much more into my workflow, and that is the DJI Avata. Now, the ability to fly this super small FPV drone inside and in tight spaces I've just found it adding an extra dimension to my work, not to mention it's really, really fun to work with. So having that ability to reach out and increase your creativity and have fun while doing it has just been one of those things that made the DJI Avata one of my top pieces of gear for 2023. Anyway, guys, this is a short list. There's obviously a lot more stuff in there, but I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Leave me any notes and comments down below. Yeah, go out there, keep on shooting, and I'll talk to you soon.